Hey guys, what is up? SgamingR here, coming at you with the Diablo 3 video. Today's video is going to be on how to build a decent demon hunter for Inferno with only 500,000 gold. So let's get straight into it. Okay, so there are 13 pieces of equipment. Part 1 and Part 2 of this series will cover buying the equipment and showing you guys how to buy it, the strategies to use in the auction house, and what you want to be looking for. And the third part will cover the build, which includes the skills and strategies you'll be using, and just general gameplay with the budget demon hunter. So this still here shows the max buyout that we are going to be paying for each of these items. However, as you'll see later, we can even get them for cheaper than what we have here. And yes, let's get straight into it. So the first item up that we're going to head to is the crossbow. Alright guys, so go ahead and head into the auction house. So the first thing that we're going to want to search up for is our crossbow, because that is the most important part of all 13 pieces. Two-hand crossbow, and I'll explain later in the second part of this tutorial, which will be the build and actual gameplay using the budget gear that we purchase, about why we use a crossbow and about pretty much why we're using everything that we are, and the tactics as well as the skills. So if you want to hop to the second part, if you already have gear, go ahead and feel free to do that, but this part right here, part 1, is just going to be purchasing the gear and what you're going to be looking for. Alright, so we have a 500k budget, but I'm going to allocate 100k to the crossbow alone. The reason being because it's the most important part of our gear, as I said previously. Now for the preferred stats, we're going to want to look at dexterity, because that's what gives us demon hunters the damage boost, with a minimum value of 90. That's just what I prefer. That's a good minimum value to have, and of course you're going to want the socket, and I'll explain this later as well. Alright, so here we have all of our crossbows that are given to us. I prefer to look at the ones with a higher DPS because obviously a higher DPS is better, and you'll be able to clear mobs faster, elite, champ packs, because the gear that we have right now is not that great. It's going to be decent. So you're going to want to look for the best possible gear that you can possibly get with your budget, your money. Now you don't have to buy out anything, or everything rather. I would suggest taking your time since you have a budget, placing bids, seeing if you can get the actual item for a lower price than the buyout with the bids, because overall you're going to be saving more money, which you can use to further enhance your character later on. Save up, get items by farming, and be able to keep on upgrading. So as you can see here this is listed by DPS. You can simply do this by clicking on the DPS and checking out. Now you're just going to want to scroll down and check out what these items are. So here we have this Desolate Eagle crossbow. It's got 146 dexterity and an empty socket, but as you can see, the bid price and the buyout price are the same, so this guy doesn't really want people to place bids, just wants them to straight out buy the crossbow. Here we have Warden's Judgment. Now this has a slight DPS decrease and a fair dexterity decrease, around 45, 47. Yep. Now, although the dexterity is decreased significantly and it's a lower DPS, as you can see, the bid is 10,000 and the buyout's 50,000. Now, once again, we have allocated 100k to the crossbow, but as I emphasized previously, you're going to want to try to save money as much as you can, so you can get better upgrades in the future. So personally, for me, I would suggest going with this crossbow, as the DPS, the actual DPS downgrade in terms of how much it's going to lower your DPS as compared to this crossbow is not too significant. It'll be a fair number, but with the amount of money you will be saving with this one, I would suggest getting this. Now, of course, as you can see here, the bid is 10,000 and the buyout's 50,000. So if you were you and you were on your budget, I would suggest placing a bid and seeing if you can get it for even less than 50,000. But because I have already my money, I'm going to go ahead and just buy that out, because that's what we will be using for the gameplay in the second part of this tutorial. Alright guys, we're going to look at the quiver now, so go ahead, go to the auction house, equipment, offhand, quiver, and we're going to be looking at 3 things for the quiver. It's going to be dexterity,
vitality, and maximum discipline. We need the max discipline because with this build we're going to be using smokescreen a lot to go invisible and obviously to block damage, to prevent damage. So what the discipline does is, you know, give us more discipline so we can use smokescreen for longer periods of time. As for the values, 70 dexterity, 50 vitality, and for the max buyout for the quiver, 50k should be good. Now as you can see, we have 5 pages, 7, 9, 11. We have quite a few pages. We're not going to be looking at all of them here, but let's just see what we can get for the best price. Remember guys, even though the buyout is 50k, if you can save anything, that's just amazing. And if you can save money. So here we have 142 dexterity. This is really good. As you can see, it's almost on par with my own quiver. 65 vitality, which is greater than the quiver I have. Here we got 14% attack speed, better than the one I have. Okay, extra gold. That's just another thing. That can be helpful, I guess. Increased hatred regeneration. That's always really special because with the build we're using, we're kind of specializing on attacks that do need hatred, so that always helps. And the maximum discipline, which is 7, which is very good. Even though these have 10, this has 8. However, this also has the increased hatred regeneration, which is very helpful. And what is 3 maximum discipline going to do? Even though you might think it all stacks up at the end, I think smokescreen takes up 16 or something like that. I'm not too sure. So I think I would just go straight off with the first one. As well as that, you're saving 40k. You're getting the hatred regeneration. So yeah, if you find something like this, go ahead and take that. So that's what we're going to be using for our budget demon hunter. Now we're going to move on to the cloak. Alright guys, now we're going to look at the cloak. So go ahead and go to the auction house, equipment, armor, chest armor. And we're going to be looking at 3 values for the cloak or chest armor: dexterity, vitality, and 3 sockets, which is very important. So for the dexterity, we're going to put a value of 70, vitality 50, and the max buyout 5,000. It's a good thing that these are actually really cheap. You can get fairly decent cloaks for only up to 5,000 gold. So right here I'm looking at this cloak. It's got decent armor, as you can see. It's got better dex than my cloak does. Less vitality, but vitality isn't going to be as important with this build. We're going to be focusing quite more heavily on attack. Here we got a Troll's accoutrements. I am loving the the vitality on these. And even though I said vitality wasn't as important before, every single little bit helps because it can just mean the difference between life and death with a blow from any monster, pretty much in Inferno. We're going to look through some others. There's only 2 pages worth. These kind of nice because you have the arcane resistance. Let's check page 2. Wow, 5% life. If anything, I would just instantly go with these, but let's see what we got here. 5% life is very nice. It's pretty much it's like a increased vitality essentially. And yeah, so I think the best choice here would be to go to the one that has 5% life, as well as that it has regen. And as I said previously, as long as you have, with the greater life, it reduces the risk or possibility of dying. And that's why I would go ahead and take these. They perfectly match the budget too. But what are you going to do? Like, if you bought one that's 3,000, you only save 2,000 gold. It's not going to help you that much. Anyway, now we head on to the next piece of equipment.
So boots are a very important part of a demon hunter's build, just because they give you that certain movement speed, which helps you kite monsters. And I'll explain what this means once we search up a pair of boots. Go ahead, go to equipment, armor, boots, preferred stats, once again, dexterity and vitality, and movement speed. Now for the dexterity, as I did with the quiver, I'm gonna set it at something like 200, and wow, you get Oh, I didn't set a max buyout, that's why. Sorry. So for the boots, we are going to use a max buyout of 25k. Let me type that in. Okay. Now, dexterity. Let's search up something like 200. We're not going to get any boots for that price. 190, maybe 170, 60, and yes, 160 is where we can start getting the boots at. Okay, so what do we have here? 165 dexterity, which is actually really nice. 65 vitality. What I'm going to do here is sort out all the ones which have a nice high vitality. None of them have a vitality higher than 70, but maybe 65. We got one here, Wayfarer Knack. Right here, these are probably the ideal boots, as they still save you around, so 19k, so 6k. Since you the budget was 25k, these are 19k, you would save 6k, which you can always use to get gems, or to even increase the buyouts on the cloak, for example. 64. Let's just put in 60. We got 3 here. Let's compare movement speeds. Even though this has the regen life, but the regen life is not as important for a demon hunter, and this also has the best 10% movement speed. So I'm just going to go ahead and get these because these have the best dex, vitality, and fair enough movement speed. I mean, the best I think you can get possible is 12. Let me check up on that. Checking 13. Yep, 12 is the highest. So 10 is still really good, and it's going to put that buyout back at 25k. And go ahead and get these Wayfarer Knacks. Alright, let's move to the pants. Alright, now we got the pants. Auction house equipment, armor pants. I gotta go a little more quick because I'm taking too long on these. So pants are very simple. 2 things you're gonna be looking for: dexterity, vitality. That's it. Nothing else you really need to look for on pants. Actually, there's one more thing else, my bad. 2 sockets, because the sockets always help. And the buyout price for these will be 25k. And let's just look at these. Alright, so we got 83 dexterity, which is nice. Let's see if we can get the dexterity value of 110, 120 even, 130, 140, 150. And right here, these are the gems. Brigand's Rigging. I won't even look at other things. I just know that this is what you should get. Because just look at the high dex. I'll put in 140, and we can look at them. But honestly, 108 dex, whereas these all have 70, 70, 70, 70, whatever. You know, nothing special. Here you have the 13 resist to all elements. But honestly, as a demon hunter, it's not going to help you at all. At least with this build, the glass cannon, it's just going to not be beneficial. But this is a decent vitality, 41, and as well as 108 dexterity. That'll give you a great addition to your DPS. So we got 5 items so far, and let's move on to the 2 rings. Nice. Okay, so we have the first ring here. I'm going to split off the second ring and the rest of the equipment to a second video. Let's go ahead and search for equipment, armor, and ring. Now for the first ring, we're going to want to search for 2 things. That'll be dexterity and attack speed increased. For the attack speed increase, I suggest putting a value of around 70, and the dexterity maybe 60 or so. And then the max buyout will be 35,000 for each ring. So go ahead, and as you can see, we have multiple things here: 70 dexterity, all of these, 68 dexterity, attack speed increased by 7. Okay, let's just go to the cheapest one, and right here, 71 dexterity, attack speed increased by 7%. With this, you save 30,000 gold, which you can use to get a better ring for the second ring. So even right here, as you can see, the time left, 1 day, 11 hours. So this is just recently put up, and I would just go ahead and take this. This is going to be one of the rings you're going to be using for the build. I'm going to split off the second ring into the second video, as I said previously. So I'll title that part 2, and you can click the link in the annotation to head to that video.